Welcome to this week's Essential, where we bring you all the latest news from around the university and the city centre. I'm Ros Gilman.
And I'm Sam Haslam. Let's have a look at what's coming up in this week's programme.
Abdul attends a talk by Norman Finkelstein.
Keisha talks to fans who pay their respects to Jimmy Savile.
Katie investigates the rising level of child poverty in the local area.
And Andy finds out just how much the university's 40647 campaign cost.
Norman Finkelstein came to the university this week to talk about the Palestine-Israeli conflict. Abdul went to see how the talk was received by the students.
Norman Finkelstein, an American author, activist and a public speaker, is present here at the University of Leeds to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in the context of the current Arab uprising. He's been regarded as an American radical and for his controversial views on the conflict, judging by the protests outside. We are here to listen to what he has to say about this issue.
It is a great pleasure to have him here in Leeds. Please let's give a very warm welcome to Dr. Norman Finkelstein.
No, I totally disagree with that. You say this is the way Israel came. No, Israel, through a certain amount, not a certain amount, a large amount of ruthlessness, but it was able to win the public opinion at the UN General Assembly. And they ran with it. They ran with it. No question about that. But the thing about the Zionists, which makes them, in my opinion, they are real political actors. Every single person in this room, bar none, every single person in this room has heard of the Balfour Declaration. Remember, it's a century ago.
It was actually very exciting, very interesting. And the thing, the summary he was saying is the summary of his experience of his life. But I love the part where he didn't say his personal opinion. What he was saying is all facts, and it's all rational and things that should be done. And his invitation for all the youth to initiate them to take a part in this. And I think it was very amazing because maybe we were not born at the time where Israel or that conflict started. We came to a time where a change in the world is possible. Like as he said, the Arab revolts right now and all of these things, and where we can take part. So, and I thought it was very, very interesting.
How successful do you think it has been in terms of the organisation of your group, the great effort that you've done?
I'm amazed by how successful it was. I really didn't expect this many people to be turning up. In fact, there was a queue all the way out here and sort of out that door. We asked the university if we could have it in the conference auditorium, but they were like, no, you won't get enough people, you won't fill the conference auditorium. And I was like, we will, I promise. But and we did. And I just spoke to one of them now and I was like, so next time can we have a conference auditorium? And they're like, yeah, sure. I think it was a great success.
Judging by the theoretical perspectives claimed by Theodor Herzl in his book The Jewish State, who argues for the legitimacy of the creation of a Jewish state considering the atrocities that have occurred in the past, such as the Holocaust. What are your opinions on the creation of a Jewish state based on his perspectives?
The issue is a legitimacy.
Mm-hmm.
The relevant issue is, under current standards of international law, does Israel constitute a state or not? So, rather than look at that, let's take the American example. I don't think you would find many Mexicans who would agree it was legitimate for the United States to steal half of Mexico. But on the other hand, if you were to ask them, does the border of the United States is the legitimate border? Does it include New Mexico, Arizona, California? I think they would say yes. Both statements are true. Historically, it can't be justified, but nonetheless, as a political reality, it's the legitimate border. And I don't think it's much different when it comes to Israel-Palestine. Can it be historically justified? In my opinion, absolutely not. Is it now a recognized reality by nearly the whole of humankind? I would say yes. Both statements are true.
In your opinion, should there be the creation of state based on religion? Should religion define the creation of state?
Look, I've said I don't believe in states to begin with, but so far as states exist, and obviously if I'm Jewish in the United States, and I would be adamantly opposed to the U.S. being legally a Christian state, and Jews fight very hard to make sure that to make sure that the U.S. is not described as a Christian state. I mean, you would be surprised. American Jews are very tough even to have a Santa Claus in a public place or a Christmas tree. They say, no, that's Christian. We don't want it in public places. So if American Jews, including myself, are very adamant that the state has to be non-religious or not to show preference to any religion. So of course, to be consistent, I would have to say I oppose a Jewish state in the Middle East for the same reasons, because it inevitably discriminates against the non-Jewish population.
We've had an interesting talk in Leeds. We've had a great audience listening to your opinions. What do you think has created an impact on our student population? Are you satisfied with the turnout?
So I would call it an attentive audience. The security guard is here as a witness. It was not a rowdy audience. And I'm sure lots of people disagreed with this or that aspect of what I had to say. So the most you can hope for is that people listened attentively and that they'll think about what I said. And to that extent, I would say it was a victory. You don't want instant conversion. I don't want to convert people. I want people to think, and then they should convert themselves.
Okay. We were joined here with Dr. Finkelstein, and he's answered our questions well. And it was a great pleasure of having Dr. Finkelstein present here in our university and answering the questions of our students directed towards him. This is Abdul Karim reporting live for Essential.
Last Saturday, Sir Jimmy Savile sadly passed away at the age of 84. Keisha went to speak to fans who were paying their respect.
I'm stood outside the Queen's Hotel in Leeds, where Sir Jimmy Savile's coffin has been put to lie in state in the room behind us. The gold-coloured casket was carried throughout the city centre, carried up the red carpet to be put inside the bar at the Queen's Hotel. Members of the public can pay their respects to the larger-than-life DJ and TV presenter throughout the day. The Jim Fixer presenter, who died at the age of 84, will be buried on Thursday. His funeral will be held at St Anne's Cathedral, and he'll be laid to rest in Scarborough, where he spent most of his life. Even in the rain, the general public have come out to pay their respects to their favourite celebrity.
Sort of grown up with Jimmy, you know, from early days at the Mecca, Locarno, to Top of the Pops, Jim will fix it, everything else. And his charity work's just wonderful.
What did he mean to me? It's a big part of my childhood, and I think it's same anyone of my generation. Saturday afternoons were Sir Jim making dreams come true, and you know, celebrities don't do that these days. They're more about themselves, whereas Jim was about others.
To say farewell to Sir Jimmy Savile, who was such a kind and honourable person and put everybody's before himself. I did have the honour of running with him in 3 of the marathons that he raised money for at Pontefract to start building the Pontefract Prince of Wales Hospice. And today is just a great day to say farewell to him.
My fondest memory, I couldn't give you one fondest memory because it's impossible. We were friends for 40 years and Jimmy opened up so many doors for me that I met so many people. I've met royalty through him, I've met pop stars through Jimmy, and at the end of the day, his true friends were just ordinary people, and Jimmy put a smile on people's faces. He was the sort of guy that everybody liked.
What do you think he would make of this event today?
What would he make of this event? I would say he'll be up there looking down with a smile on his face, and I could just picture that smile thinking, great, all these people come out and to see me,
Members of the public can view Sir Jimmy's casket until 4 p.m. today. His funeral will take place tomorrow, where he'll be buried at a 45-degree angle to the sea in Scarborough. This is Keisha Gregson reporting for The Essential.
Child poverty is an ongoing problem, especially in Leeds. Katie talks to Ben Fisher, who's asking students what they think they can do to help.
The UK has one of the highest rates of child poverty in the industrialised world. Just down the road from the University of Leeds, almost half of the children are living under the poverty line. After doing some research, I found out that this is the second highest rate in the city. Poverty affects all areas of a child's development. As adults, children that have grown up under the poverty line are more likely to suffer from mental health problems, unemployment and homelessness.
A family with 2 adults and 2 children needs to have £352 each week in order to be above the poverty line. Many families living on a low income have only £13 per day per adult. That's £182 a week. This needs to cover food, transport, clothes, shoes and household bills.
Ben Fisher, the community officer on Leeds End, is asking students to think about what we can do as a union to help tackle child poverty in the area.
Hi Ben, nice to meet you. What are you going to be suggesting to this month's Leeds Forum?
So I put forward an idea that the union should put some resources into tackling child poverty in the city, and especially around the immediate area, sort of a mile around the university. So I found out that in 2010 the figures of child poverty in Hyde Park House was 46%, in Kirkstone was 33%, Headingley was 19%. So it's huge figures, and I think that as students, as residents in the area, and as a union of residents in the area, we have a responsibility to do something about this.
As individuals to really help the situation and also really help raise awareness.
But there's a lot you can do. I mean, one of the easiest things to do is write to your local councillor, especially if you're in the Hyde Park House area. If you go online to the council website and find their email address, write and say how shocked you are about these figures, and ask them what they're doing, because that kind of pressure on the political level is quite powerful. As well as that, it's about finding local community groups who are already doing some great work in the area and trying to help them through volunteering, through fundraising. The union itself has quite a lot of volunteering activities that take part in that area, so it's access to community engagement and stuff like mentoring. It's about getting involved and using your skills in any way you can, because as individuals we are really powerful to make this change to individual children's lives.
40647 campaign created a lot of confusion amongst students, but are they aware of how much it costs?
Wastage and the environment were the answers, as we predicted, behind these 5 numbers. 40647. The questions, the mystery behind this scheme were building up as we asked students what they thought it was, and finally it was announced that this is the potential wastage that both students and staff could be contributing towards in the university. Wastage through rubbish tipping, through electricity usage on computers, leaving lights on and more, all add up to this number, this huge amount of waste inside the university. This was a big announcement that the university put a lot of effort in, but also a lot of money. Another big announcement that came in this week was the cost of this scheme. £75,000. How did it get this much for a website and a few numbers all over campus? Today, we're going to find out.
It could have been far better spent than putting some signs up. There are other ways to promote this number instead of spending £75,000, I think.
If we're looking at this in terms of psychology, yeah, it has really got people thinking what are the numbers, but I think it's really up to the uni to make sure that they get people thinking more about CO2 and carbon emissions, and then just telling them simple ways in which they can reduce it, rather than just saying this is how many numbers that number of people that are in the uni and waste CO2. So just getting the message across better. This is good, but it's really too subtle.
Oh yeah, I think everyone should cut down on their carbon emissions, but not spending £70,000 to advertise it.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Nobody knows what it is. If it was maybe marketed a bit better and put out so people actually knew what it was from the word go, I understand the scheme is to not do that, but I still don't understand what it is.
I actually don't know about it, to be honest. I just came down and saw the haystacks lying about, and I don't really know what it's about.
The university spending £75,000 worth of their funding on this scheme. Ben Fisher is here to speak to me again now. Do you think this has had a good impact? Do you think it's been a beneficial thing for the university to spend this amount of money and do the project?
Well, it's interesting. I saw the figures in the student paper, and I've been trying to get in touch with the university to find out sort of where the figures came from, because I don't know how it could have cost that much. So I've been trying to get a source on that. So I don't want to sort of make a grand statement and say it was a complete waste of money or otherwise, because I'm still not entirely sure about the figures. I think as a campaign generally, I think it's been quite effective. It's got people talking, and it seems to have got people interested in sort of the wider issue of sort of environmental management on campus, which is a really important issue. From a money perspective alone, the university spends about £12 million on its electricity bill every year. So if this is part of a wider drive to try and drive down those costs, ultimately, although yes, it's a lot of money, it'll be beneficial in the long term. So I think that, you know, if you're taking into account that wider activity, I think it's probably very good value for money.
Just on that, finally, some people, like I say, very sort of confused about this. Lots of people saying, I still don't know what it is. Do you think maybe the scheme could have been done better in that the mystery was still there, but now it needs to be announced maybe more blatantly of exactly what it is?
Well, I think if people are still confused, then obviously there's a job to do about communicating it. But I think it's just one starting point of a much wider drive. The university just started a carbon management plan. It's looking at increasing its sustainable activity and trying to increase these behaviour change campaigns, not just as like, you know, a 3-week stint at the start of term, but to be something that goes on all year round every year. So I think that as a starting point, it's great.
It's going to be great if you can save this money.
The university's argument, though, is that by spending this £75,000 now, they'll save millions on carbon emissions because they're making an impact on students and telling them that carbon emissions and energy consumption, electricity, is being wasted in the university. Do you think that's a good argument? Do you think electricity usage is important?
Yep, it's important because I'm not recently. I come here at night. I seen a lot of lights is on. I think it's a problem for the university. They need to take care. Actually, every student, every staff, they need to take part of this stuff. They need. Okay, it's not you don't gonna pay for the bill, but at least act like you are one of the university. You own the university. It's like your home. Turn off the lights and everything. That's what I think.
It's this sort of thing, splitting cardboard recycling from glass, from paper, tins and other sorts of general waste that the university are trying to increase awareness of through the scheme that is 40647. Big numbers make a big impact in theory, and different to leaflets and things like that, the passing out by perhaps people will just discard straight away. £75,000 though is the price mark of this scheme. The question that I put to the sustainability officer of the university was whether it's all been worth it and whether staff and students, all 40,647 of them, are now more aware. James Dixon-Goff, the Sustainability Development Officer here at the University of Leeds, is here to speak to me now about the whole scheme, the 40647, and about the price, £75,000. So first then, James, 40647, give us a bit of background. What's it all about?
The idea behind the campaign is basically the formulation of the carbon management plan, which happened about a year ago. We're doing a carbon management plan for a number of reasons, really. We're kind of required to do it through the Higher Education Funding Council for England. That's linked to annual funding of about £16 million a year, so we have to do it for that reason. Also, as an educational institute who's kind of committed to climate change, looking at climate change through its education, kind of we feel we need to do it for that reason as well. And we also have escalating fuel bills at the moment, £11.5 million, rising to about £17 million on a very kind of conservative estimate by about 2020. So as a result of this, we formulated the carbon management plan. Key target in that is a 35% reduction in emissions by 2020. So that's essentially what has driven the campaign.
Not really sure on what the numbers are. They've been here for 2 or 3 weeks now and no clear explanation so far. What's your response to that? Is there a big explanation on the way?
The reason being that as a large university, there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of different messages happening at the same time. We feel this is something that is incredibly important for university staff, students, and also the university in itself, the organisation. So we needed something that could cut through all those messages, something that was big and could start off a very long campaign. This campaign, after all, is going to last for a minimum of a year. We'll probably be running for 2-3 years. So it's a long campaign. So we needed something that would give an initial big bang and get people's attention.
The big news for you, of course, is the announcement of what the 40647 numbers were, but also big news this week has been, of course, the price tag that the university assigned to this, James. £75,000 on this number scheme. I mean, is this a small scheme? Is this going to be a larger or longer project to credit this £75,000 price tag?
Absolutely. In terms of being well received by students and staff, I think at the moment there's still a lot of questions about what it's about, and people are a little bit unsure about what the numbers mean because we kind of haven't launched into the second part of the campaign. However, in terms of the amount of people it's reached, we know there's been 14,000 hits on the website so far, so people are aware of what's going on now. So I think just initially that's been a pretty big impact, and we're pretty pleased with that. In terms of the amount of money, £75,000 is a lot of money. We're very aware of that. But even if our target is to reach a 2% reduction in electricity usage, if we achieve that, that's £92,000 saving. We're trying to achieve a year-on-year saving on this. This is just an initial layout. So actually that's a less than 1 year payback with this.
What can individuals do to help?
It's about going down corridors. If you see that heating's on full, maybe turning a thermostat down to 3. It's about making sure that you turn computers off when you have the opportunity, turning lighting off if it's been left on. You know, speaking to your department and kind of find out if they've got any plans to reduce energy, and if not, kind of talking to them a little bit and trying to get them to get some plans in place. So there's lots of stuff you can do, but I guess going to the website is the first thing that we'd like people to do.
James Dixon-Goff, Sustainability Development Officer. Thanks very much for that, James. 40,647 staff and students in the university, all apparently who could cut down on their waste, their carbon emissions, use of electricity when they're throwing rubbish away and more. But the cost of this scheme to the university is £75,000. Of the students and others we've interviewed, most people have said it's a real shock, and it's disgusting that just 5 numbers could possibly cause that price. But it turns out this is a long-running scheme, 2 or 3 years, and the university has been told they must decrease the amount of carbon waste that they're outputting every single day and every single year. It all adds up is the big message for this big campaign that is 40647. And that website, italladsup.leeds.ac.uk, has all more information.
Now let's get the weather report for the next couple of days.
This week's weather forecast is not looking too appealing, with Wednesday bringing cloud and fog, highs of 11 and lows of 7. On Thursday we can expect some light rain with highs of 11 and lows of 8, and on Friday it's much the same with lows of 8 and highs of 11. So it looks like the winter is well and truly set in. So remember to wrap up warm and keep your chestnuts toasty.
It's that time of the programme where we go out around the union and ask students the essential question of the week.
Here's for this week's essential question of Movember. Now, Movember's where the guys don't shave for the whole month of November, and people sponsor them to raise money for testicular cancer. So let's see what everyone's doing for it.
Grew a mustache on my face.
I'm not, I can't remember.
Why is that? Can't grow a beard. Okay, dude, are you doing Movember?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it? What do you think about Movember?
I think it's a great cause.
Everybody wants to touch and grow a mustache on my face.
Yeah, it's a really good cause.
Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
It's a really great way to raise awareness about men's health as well. So it's a really good way of spreading the word about how many people are affected, how to check this out.
That's great, thanks very much.
Everybody thinks that I'm a porn star.
If you had a mustache, would you grow a mustache? Definitely. I think it'd suit me, you know, my Serbian roots would come through. Definitely, it looks sensational. Are you not shaving the whole month of November?
I am actually shaving. I just got it as my picture.
Are you getting sponsored for it?
No.
Oh, wow. If you could grow a better moustache, what shape would you grow?
Probably a handlebar.
Good call. Good call. Just growing a moustache. What do you think of Movember? It's good. It's good. It's raising up awareness for testicular cancer. Thanks very much.
I know about Scotland anyway.
He does. That's great. And why do you support Movember?
So I think it's good to get awareness of cancer. And as I said, the guys do something once.
That's great. Thanks very much.
Everybody thinks that I'm themselves.
So, this has been Listen to Her with your essential question.
That's it for this week. You can tune in online on www.lstv.co.uk.
And remember, if it's going on
in
or around your union, it's essential.